Yeah. Well, that's cool. Thank you. Cool. All right. So now we are here. Good. All right. So today I would like to talk with you about the perception of what a world-class developer is, of what is a great developer. And the thing is that years ago, in one of my performance review, my manager at that time asked me about what was my North Star. So often you are going to be asked about this question and you need to come up with something. So your boss, your manager, or whatever will try to create opportunities for you to thrive in whatever the thing that you want to accomplish. At that time, I come up with this sentence that still for today resonate with me a little bit. And it's like I said to him that I wanted to become a world-class developer. So he laughed, we laughed, and then I took it seriously for me, and I started to think like, what the heck is a world-class developer? And probably you are asking the same to yourself right now. Hopefully, throughout this quick talk, we are going to share some of the opinions on what makes someone a world-class developer. The thing is that once you arrive to a place in which you are comfortable doing the work that you choose to do, I think that we all want to be good at what we do. But in that journey of being good at what you do, there are many obstacles and things that we often don't have the tools in order to actually effectively deal with them. In a developer career, we are full of book generation things, overkill solutions, among other things, getting mad at the computer. Like we all know being in the front of the computer and say, this should be working, but I don't know why it's not working. Being frustrated for hours, for a lot of time, then you share with a colleague, the colleague came and I don't know, it's a semicolon, it's a typo, is something that you just need a little bit of a space from the problem that you are facing and actually analyze the things that are happening. There are many things that happen through our journey of learning and growing as a developers that I think we somehow can mitigate. And if you don't relate at all with the world-class developer stuff, I think that you all relate with all these pains that I have been just saying right now. For me, all these pains stick with us more time than is needed just because we focus too much on the technical side, on the things that are like the way to write the stuff, the technology that we are using, the stack that we are using, but we are not actually giving the value to the process of working, the value that it deserves. I'm not saying that this knowledge, this technical knowledge doesn't have a place. It does, but we often let aside the process that is needed in order to write good code. There is certain point in your career in which you are going to realize that code won't get you exponentially better, that your technical skills won't take you any further, and that's the moment in which you start to challenge the things that you are doing, because just before that point you used to just learn technical things, and that give you this movement in the ladder, the professional ladder that we have. But at some point, it doesn't work, and we start to get a little bit frustrated, and we don't know how to make the leap because coding is just not enough. So there is someone that is a little bit controversial, but Jordan Peterson said that a way to predict success in the workplace is throughout intelligence and consciousness. And the thing is that when I hear that, I was like, this might be hitting in what I want to understand. The intelligence part is the thing that we already know, the knowledge and the technical stuff and everything. But the other word is a little bit more interesting and probably pointing to the things that I felt that probably I can do better. This rule of 80% of your results are because the 20% of the things that you do or something like that. Like, where is the big opportunity? And when I search about the word, because I'm not native English speaker, I realized that it was, okay, it's cool, but it's very philosophical. I cannot work with that. Like, okay, I already have the wish to do my work in the best way possible. So that doesn't necessarily put me in the path of success. So I think that throughout these years of career, I actually realized the tool that I need in order to ensure that I'm in the path of success. And that for me is journaling. So better decision making comes from better thinking habits. That's a very important thing to understand and to realize and conceptualize ourselves. Because our brain is like a city with highways in which our thoughts are cars going everywhere. And we as a developers, I think that sometimes we just jump in the first vehicle that is available. So you encounter a problem, and then the first thing that resonates a little bit as a possible solution, you just jump there and start coding. And that often leads to a lot of mistakes and the frustration and the events that we probably feel related to, which was the one that I mentioned before. So journaling is an opportunity for us to park those vehicles, those thoughts, analyzing them, and then execute on them. It's a problem when we start to bounce ideas in our brain because we fall in this rabbit hole of confirmation bias, in which you think that you know the things that surround the problem and how to solve it. But if you don't take the objective perspective and allow the space between you and the problem, you are probably missing a lot of pieces. So going into the actual process that I want to share with you today, my journaling process or my journaling habit has 3 pillars. One is my diary, which is the seeding. Then comes the nurture and the build. So the nurture, I start to use Obsidian because for the nature of the work that we do, which is digital, I'm trying to come this second pillar into a digital world. I have been journaling, just for context, like 8 years, but it's just from 1 year and something that I'm trying to digitalize this second step. And the third step with Notion, you already saw from Elena the amount of things that you can do. But in my process, in the end, Notion is the platform for you to share information in a more polished way for people to consume. So I have 3 templates that I often use, and it's because as a developers, our work is somewhat abstracted into creating features, solving bugs, and helping others. And those 3 things are addressed by these 3 templates. So you have the specs, the books, and what I call the emergency kit. Today we are going to be talking really briefly about books and the emergency kit, just because of the time. And I'm going to share with you some of the examples. So the book process. What do we want here? What we want here is to have like a deterministic way to arrive to the right questions. And that's something that is very important to understand, because often you see people that when is asking for help, they just come with something that is broken. I needed to do X and I don't know what's going on. And that happens because arrive to the right question actually needs a process, actually needs a strategy, it needs an effort. So right now, as we are in an environment that more than ever is async and everyone is remote and we need to be effectively communicate through writing, collaboration comes much more efficient if you know the right questions that you need to ask. And that's part of the process of the book process that we want to create to arrive to those questions. So the book template for me is divided in three chunks. So we have the metadata, which is the thing that I use in order to be able to index the information that I create. Then we have what they call intentional cycle. When I say they, this is a terminology that has been coined by the author of Bujo Journal. And the intentional cycle is just that: record, reflect, refine, and respond. And then we have the learning. So we all know that when we face a book, we need to sort of iterate and investigate the causes of that book. So for me, the intentional cycle in this process is record, understand the current situation. Often when you are in a big company, you out of the box, the ticket has what's going on. Then you have the reflection, in which we start to stop the coding and stuff and actually think in your architecture. What are the components that surrounds the problem and that can actually affect the problem? But still, we don't react yet. We are just reflecting and creating an hypothesis of why the things are happening. Then we record a strategy. So we refine, we say some of the approaches that I can take in order to verify the hypothesis. What will happen is that often you start with an error message, let's say. You make some hypotheses, make some strategies, and then you encounter another error message. And then you go and go until you're clear. So those cycles of iteration is what we call the intentional cycle. At the end, I just record a solution, which in the next slides, you will see how probably you can consume them. But I have like a conclusion that I can share, digest, or just learn about that. Some examples that I have. One in the left side of your screen is a recent one. I think it's, so it's October. And as you see, it's easy to spot the steps between each intentional cycle. Every time that I'm seeing the current situation, the hypothesis that I have, then the attempts, and then I refine again, say another hypothesis. I have some findings, situation, hypothesis, so on and so forth, until I arrive to a conclusion. In the right side, I think that is wrong because it's difficult to consume. When you try to scan really quick, you don't know actually the mental process that I'm going through in that moment. And it's difficult to actually digest what is happening. It's even more difficult to link errors between one book and another. Because sometimes when you are working with a product or with a platform or with your app, you have this error that could be repeated in different instances. But if you don't have the capture of that step, then once the error appears again, you don't know how to come back to this one. And that's the beauty when you are short, but with enough context and being very precise with each step that you are taking. Besides, once you try to reach for help, then you can actually share the log of all the things that you have done, images. You can actually inform the person that will try to help you. So some tips in order to create your own template. Keep it short, but give enough context. So as I already mentioned, have a strategy for searching. So I mentioned that I have been journaling for 8 years or something like that. And I always did it with paper. So actually, I always carry with me my notebook and everything. And the problem is that it helped me to think, but I won't be able to do the fancy connection between one thing and another, or just press search and try for search for an error and encounter whatever I want. So that's what last year I started to move to the digital environment just for the thinking. I still use paper. Write before execute, because what you don't capture today is now lost forever. And that's very important. So sometimes we say like, no, I got it. I don't need the process. It's too overkill. And maybe there are moments in which is it. And with experience, you will have the taste, the feeling of when. But start maybe with everything until you really go the sense with that. Because what happened is that in this process of figuring out and investigate a book, you might encounter different errors, and then you want to go back a different step, or do you want to inform someone else, and you no longer have the status to share all the images and everything. It's like being a detective, and you gather your clues and then make a conclusion. But it's difficult if you move around, move all in the crime scene, and then you say, oh, where was the clue that I saw in the beginning? So that's the stuff. The other template that I wanted to share with you was, probably this is something that is just a fancy name for something that you already do in your work, hopefully. And it's like the emergency kit is a way to contribute to eliminate the single point of failure. We know that is bad when only someone knows about a model, a part of the application, that part of the application that nobody wants to touch, driver menu and free now, for instance. And you have these things that only few people know. We all know that, but probably we are not diligent enough in order to inform the people that comes after us. And of course, that's harmful. And it's not just for you and your time, but also because when you leave the organization, you will harm in some way the people that was your teammate, because they will arrive to places of frustrations, days in which they need to figure out things that you already figured out, but you didn't create anything for them. So it's like, if you think about it, it's like everyone fighting the same battle over and over and over and over, and not helping each other. So one thing that I articulate in my mind when I was writing this is that the emergency kit is a way to seeking to not being indispensable, make you more indispensable in the organization that you are. And that's something very good for you as a professional, and will for sure increase your impact wherever you go. Some examples again, in the right side, you see that I have something very lazy. I just dropped some links on this Notion page. And when I actually wanted to use it, it was actually a pain that I served for me, because when I clicked the link, I forgot how to do this. I clicked the link, it was a massive documentation from Amazon. And it was like, just like starting from the scratch. On the left side though, I have something much more detailed. I have error messages, and I have like checkpoints on how to do things. And actually the one that is grown right now today is a video that I have with Loom, in which I make a quick tutorial for everyone to understand how to do it. But often you don't want to do that if you try to do it after you already did what you want to do. So you need to be, not reactive, but proactive into record things. So some tips again, let's make it easy to edit. Notion, perhaps. No code skill required. Keep it short. Having a strategy for searching. Be consistent. So even though our templates and our way and our process can be tweaked from time to time, give it a try for a couple of weeks, and then get used to certain form of information that will help a lot your brain to actually just do the things that you want to do, and instead of creating obstacles in the middle. And another thing is that you know what you need when you need it. Don't overcomplicate the stuff. Try to do the things as lean as possible for you. Something that doesn't have too much complexity is what is actually gonna to stick with you throughout different tech trends and whatever. So arriving to the end of this talk, what it means to be a world-class developer. So I think that when I say that, I say it like a joke, and then I start to get it more personal with that. I start to see the common denominator of those people that I look with, that admiration, and I realize that those people cares, and that's something that there is no tool for that. You need to care about the users, your peers, and the business. But then you have someone that understand what is being built, why it's being built, and how it's being built. Is someone that also can collaborate with different instances of himself and with others. And that's, I'm going to do a quick pause there, because even when you are working in a solo projects, you are working with multiple instances of yourself. There is a you from the past, from the future, and from the present that has different contexts, and that you want to help them. You want to inform them. The past, you want to learn from the past. You want to serve to the guy from the future, and you want to have a process for today. And that person, this world-class developer, is able to articulate the questions that bring value to the conversation. Is a person that can challenge stuff, but that make the question that everyone say, oof, is an obstacle that we didn't saw, is a consequence that we haven't seen, is something that we need to take into account. And these three things can be greatly improved with a journaling practice, with a documentation practice, and moreover than that, with a clear process on how you approach your code. And last but not least, is someone with knowledge and with the expertise to build great stuff. Thank for your time, and take the time and think before coding.
Wow, that was very, very nice. Thank you very much. I think there's a lot of questions. Do you want to share your screen, or like, should I keep the sharing of the screen? You're muted.
I think.
Okay. Yeah. The thing is that it says you can start screen sharing. Okay. Because you are sharing the screen.
Yeah. Do you want to keep like me to keep sharing, or like?
You can keep sharing. It's okay. The thing is that sometimes it's just share black for some reason.
Okay. Then I will stop. Okay, so then we have already the first question from Arthur.
Not really a question, just kudos. It was a really nice presentation, and I definitely agree that, it's not all about code, especially at this point in the industry.